Sam Pendleton is headed to Knoxville. The Volunteers are bolstering up their offensive line with a former member of a national championship caliber roster out in South Bend, Indiana. Let's talk about the move. Welcome on into SEC Unfiltered. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. And today we talk about the Fighting Irishman becoming a Volunteer for 2025. Real quickly, make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification, and smash that subscribe button because we talk college football every single day. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the socials, link in the description. Follow Dave at Dave Shumate SEC, me and Mr. Cole Thompson. And check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. This episode is fueled by FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. So lay down $5, win that bet. You win $300 in bonus bets in the process. Sign on up at FanDuel.com/SECU. Dave, I talk about this all the time. Whenever you can get depth on the offensive line, it is an absolute win. This is a player that comes with 7 starting games underneath his belt for Notre Dame, underneath Mike Denbrock's system, was a factor in helping the Fighting Irish build that 11-1 season, make it to the college football playoff. The biggest thing of all, multiple years of eligibility. He already has experience in a starting role. He can come on in, compete on the starting 5 for either one of the guard spots or even center. It's an overall promising move for the Volunteers as they look to go back to the postseason in 2025.
Yeah, you replace 4 starters. Bringing in a guy that was on a good offensive line from this past year at Notre Dame, you're right. It is what it is. Again, we always say, anyone who's in the portal, they're going in. There's some specific reason why they're going in. He wants immediate playing time. There's 3 open spots on the interior fit his high upside from that perspective. Center and the 2 guard spots with losing Mays and Spraggins. You can say what you want about Glenn Ellerby. The high school recruiting has not been there. You say what you want a little bit about Lance Hurd and the Campbell take last year, but you got to go try to upgrade that. You got to bring the floor up in your room. And if you do that every day or in each take, if you're slowly building that floor up, that's all you can ask for. Again, not much to go off of because what he's banged up a lot right there in the middle of the year, and that got his 2. He was gonna start in the middle of the year from going back and doing some research on it, and then he got hurt, and the 2 guys they had playing just kept improving. Obviously, Notre Dame kept winning. I just don't think he got back into the lineup, so we'll see. I mean, you got to take somebody. Goal is always to improve the floor of the room.
I think when you also look at it right now, he graded out with a 65.5 run blocking grade, a 72.2 pass blocking grade by Pro Football Focus. He's somebody that you could breezily put in one of 3 spots. You're into your offensive line. It creates avenues for your rushing attack. You bring in Star Thomas. You have Peyton Lewis. You brought in the 5-star in David Sanders. He's going to compete with Lance Hurd for left tackle. If not, he's going to move on over to right tackle. So it's just a depth piece. They also landed Wendell Moe, the offensive lineman from Arizona. That's another veteran that you're bringing on in. You're not trying to rebuild the offensive line through the transfer portal. What you're trying to do is establish these best 5 men up front to keep Nico Iamaleava upright, to deliver the strikes down the field, to make sure that you're able to have a stable run game. And I think that when you add in a guy like Pendleton, he comes from a system that understands what run orientation is. There's a little bit of a difference between Denbrock's offensive personnel and the way that Josh Heupel loves to run the offensive personnel, but they both put an emphasis on running the ball. They both put an emphasis on trusting the ground game. So you already have a guy that can understand how to work in that system. It feels like a plug-and-play addition to the offensive line, especially in a weak point, which is the interior, where if you do not have guys that are able to block in the SEC, especially the big defensive tackles, your quarterback's going to be on the run, and I don't want to see Nico Iamaleava have to play under duress for most of the season.
Yeah, to your point, Bear, on the run game, I think Tennessee, and it's going to sound crazy, and Tennessee fans may not agree with me here, and it's kind of a little bit more a compliment to Heupel and them. Still got to adjust some things year 4, but it's a numbers-based game, as we all know, in the box with them. It is for most teams and quarterbacks when they're checking, they'll make calls. But really for Tennessee, if they're going to run, it's a total numbers game. There's 5 in the box, 6 in the box. Hey, the numbers, as we all see, they stretch out sideline to sideline, hash to hash with their splits. It doesn't take Braden Smith to go establish a run game in this Tennessee offense. Like a big-time future NFL guard, 10-year pro. It doesn't need that. You just have to have guys who can simplify, just kind of get in the way. Maybe that's it. I mean, they brought in a 5-star freshman, David Sanders. Some of these times, those guys don't really pan out because it's more of a product of the system. I think it's a compliment to Josh Heupel. Again, they have to adjust that a little bit. I think teams have kind of adjusted to them within their first 4 years in this league, as we saw. But no, I think some people get worked up, like we're not signing enough highly rated guys. And I think every situation is different. Tennessee doesn't necessarily need the high end, just like dudes that are just maulers, because that's not what their run based system is based off of. It's just about a numbers game in the box. Just get a hat on a hat, get in the way more so than like, hey, mano y mano, I need you to go beat your guy there, even if they have 7-8 guys in the box.
I think the big thing as well is that, again, the starting experience is like something that you just need. It's at a point to where you brought in a Lance Hurd last year. He was waiting behind 2 guys at LSU. You saw the lulls. This is somebody who has played against quality competition. He was in the Louisville game. He was playing against Texas A&M week 1. I think that he's one of those guys that is a plug-and-play addition to your offensive line that does wonders on helping out with the run game, that does wonders on setting up for your quarterback, and that's a win in itself. You want to know what else is a win? Whenever you go visit FanDuel, because FanDuel, from the first whistle to the final drive, takes the NFL playoffs to the next level. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. $300 in bonus bets if you win with your first $5 bet. Plus, if you win, you get paid instantly. What's not to love? Just visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Disclaimer, must be 21 and plus, older in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus in DC. First online money wager only. $5 first deposit is required. Bonus issues with a non-withdrawable bonus bet, which expires 7 days after the receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelpline.ma.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. All right, Dave, let's go ahead and grade the move. Elite, all league, winnable plus, winnable minus. I always leaned a certain way because if it's an offensive lineman, you need depth. You need the bullies up front. You need to be able to settle in your starting 5. So I'm going to let you take the floor and go ahead and break this down.
Yeah, quickly, guys. I know a lot of the viewers have seen our transfer portal grades, so they've seen this before. So this is really a dumbed-down version. I mean, this is what Dan Lanning and Kirby Smart used, but it's more of a dumbed-down version of Nick Saban, Bill Belichick's critical factors that got to get a little too long-winded now with how fast recruiting is. So you needed quicker grades. This is easy. So elite, all league, kind of in the same box, splitting hairs there. Those are the guys that they're going to hear their name probably called on a Thursday night in the first 32 picks. I mean, maybe it goes into early Friday, but like that's how good these guys are. Obviously all league, just guys that'll be NFL pros for a while. Winnable plus. This is where majority, if you're hitting 50-60% of your roster here, if your team's going back and grading their roster, every 10th player 1 through 10, and you hitting 50-60% of them, and you're objectively saying they're a winnable plus guy on your roster because you're winning with these guys, like you're going to have a college football playoff contending roster. Winnable minus. Don't get discouraged with the minus, folks. That just means you can win with them, not because of them. Like you can win with them, but not because of them. I think this is perfect where our guy, Mr. Pendleton, fits in here. I think this is perfect. Winnable minus. It's all going to depend how those other guys they bring in, the Bison Lang kid's another kid they brought in. From Troy, they brought in the Perry kid. You mentioned Max Anderson. They brought in some other guys as well, Bear, as you know. So I think it's all going to depend, hey, who takes that center spot? It may be Pendleton. Like he's got to be surrounded with some other guys. I think this one's pretty easy. I think it's a winnable minus. Again, I think you can win with him off the little film we've seen of him this year, but I think he's going to have to be surrounded with some other good players as well.
Didn't Bison Lang transfer to Troy? I thought it was that he left Knoxville.
Let's see. Let me see.
I'm pretty sure he left Knoxville.
Yeah, he did. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. All right, it's a winnable plus for me. And the reason why is, again, I always want offensive linemen. I want 5 dudes that I can trust, that can go out there and deliver dominance, that will protect my quarterback, that will open up running lanes. And I don't really care who they are. There's some young players. We already mentioned Max Anderson. We also have to bring up Jesse Perry, William Satterwhite. And these are guys that have experience in the system, but we haven't seen them play. You know who we've seen play? Pendleton. And he's played at right guard, and he could be a center. In fact, one of the big selling points for him to go to Knoxville was if you can win the center job, it's yours.
Cooper Mays' spot.
It's immediately yours, and you're replacing an all SEC type player. You also bring in Wendell Moe. I'm always for adding in as many offensive linemen as possible because the more depth that I have, the more opportunities I can go ahead and make some shifts. The more opportunities I feel comfortable that my team is going to take that next step forward, especially if we're in a college football playoff run. When you look at the teams that were able to capitalize and put themselves in the semifinals, they all had one thing in common: quality depth in the trenches. The offensive line last year was hit and miss for Tennessee. A lot of highs, a lot of lows. The defensive line was one of the best in college football, if not the best in college football, and certainly the most depthful version in college football. It had tons of players that we're still going to see come back next year. I want that for this offensive line if I'm Tennessee. I'm adding in Pendleton, 7 starts underneath his belt, an above-average run blocker, an above-average pass protector. He now gets to come on in, fight for one of the guard spots. Wendell Moe is going to be on the opposing side. Maybe he's in at center. Now I got 5 guys that I truly trust can take that next step forward with Nico Iamaleava in the backfield, along with Star Thomas, Peyton Lewis. Tennessee, I'm not ready to say, is out of the running for a 10-win season. I still believe that they could easily punch their ticket to Atlanta, make it to the college football playoff, go on a run. I think you're going to see more growth from these younger players: Mike Matthews, Nico, Zalance Hurd. You can even throw David Sanders into the mix. But I need to have stability in my front 5. I don't care if Pendleton ends up being a depth piece. Guess what? Number 1, he's not going to another team in the SEC that can utilize him. Number 2, if I got to call on him for 2 games, I'm content with that. Those are 2 games to where I feel so much better about my offensive line. I feel so much better protecting Nico, and I feel like that we're right back in the mix to make it to the college football playoff.
Yeah, depth in the offensive line is key. I mean, we see it every year. I think it's something we don't talk about enough because you look at all these teams who kind of have big years. I mean, look at the last 2 years just in this league, Bear. Missouri had the same starting offensive line, same 5 guys in 2023. It led to their Cotton Bowl season. This year for South Carolina, like the first time since the FDR administration, South Carolina had some health on the offensive line, and you see what they did. They went and had 9. So to your point, you never don't underestimate that depth and the health. You need some luck across the board. So I'm with you. I mean, this is a good take. You need to take it up the floor of that Tennessee offensive line room.
Let us know in the comment section down below. What do you think of Sam Pendleton coming on into Knoxville for 2025? Is he a starter? Is he a depth piece? Is he just another piece of the puzzle that helps Josh Heupel make it to the college football playoff? Like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all the social channels: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Dave Shumate SEC. Me and Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at SECUnfiltered.com. For Dave Shumate, I'm Cole Thompson. Rocky Top, you're rolling back into the college football playoff with more depth on your offensive line. Peace.